Frozen Assets, the horror behind the mayonnaise. Chapter 1. The leftovers lurk. The city of Bergspire was stitched into the mountains like a seam on a noblewoman's corset, each tier of the city layered like the folds of a well-draped gown. It was a kingdom of cold and conservation, where the Berg clan had ruled for centuries, ensuring that not a scrap of food ever went to waste. At its heart lay the Crystal Larder, the greatest repository of preserved food in history, a sprawling vault of ice and stone where meats, grains, and enchanted delicacies were stored for eternity. And within its depths, in a forgotten kitchen far from the grand banquet halls, stood a single refrigerator that no one dared open for too long. It was in this kitchen that Yulie Underbust washed dishes. Yulie was not important, not in Bergspire. She was a dishwasher, a scullery maid at best, but without the noble connotation. She was small by Berg standards, where hearty mountain stock often came with ample curves and commanding presence. Unlike the noble women who boasted cleavage like battle banners, Yulie was compact, wiry, and eternally stuck wearing a grease-stained apron that never fit properly. She didn't fight battles. She didn't control food storage policy. She just cleaned, and occasionally stole a snack when no one was looking. Tonight was one of those nights. The grand feast had ended, leaving the kitchen in disarray, with potato skins, meat bones, and half-eaten loaves of enchanted bread scattered across the counters. The chefs had long since retired, leaving Yulie alone with the mess. Her stomach grumbled. "All right, let's see what's left," she muttered, eyeing the forbidden refrigerator in the corner. It was a relic, an old, dented, humming menace. It predated her employment, possibly even the current generation of chefs. Yulie hesitated, but hunger is stronger than caution. She grabbed the handle and yanked it open. Cold mist spilled out like a dramatic noblewoman's entrance to a winter ball. Jars and containers lined the shelves, some with labels long faded, others looking suspiciously like they had been placed there by someone no longer alive. She rummaged past the mayonnaise, shuffled aside a bag of quinoa, and paused at the sriracha sauce. Something was wrong. The bottle was breathing. Her heart skipped a beat. The quinoa shifted, as if something was beneath it. Then a sound. A wet, slithering, gurgling sound. The hairs on Yulie's neck stood up. Slowly, carefully, she moved the quinoa aside and stared directly into the abyss of culinary horror. It was a thing. A congealed, undying, layered abomination. A fusion of forgotten meals, a half-eaten dumpling, a gelatinous hunk of cursed ham, a nightmare of sauces mixed into a single, pulsing, quivering mass. And it moved. It saw her. It lunged. It flung a tendril of semi-solid sauce, splattering across the counter, dragging itself forward with an unholy combination of congealed fats and regret. Yulie snatched the first weapon she could find, a rolling pin. She swung. Splat. The rolling pin bounced off the creature's gelatinous body like a badly tailored corset strap. The thing quivered, its form absorbing the impact, then let out a low, wet gurgle of amusement. Yulie backpedaled toward the pantry, tripping over a bag of imported bustwood flour. The thing seethed, its various food remnants shifting. She swore she saw a meatball surface, its singular, unblinking olive eye locking onto her. Panic surged through her. Her mind screamed, "Use magic. Do something." There was just one problem. Yulie didn't have magic. Bergspire was filled with enchanters, preservationists, frost sorcerers who could sculpt meat into eternal sculptures. But Yulie? Yulie was a dishwasher. And now she was about to be eaten by expired food. Think, Yulie. Think. She grabbed the nearest available weapon, a bag of aged cheese crumbles, and hurled it. It bounced uselessly off the creature's undulating mass. A single cube of cheddar stuck for a moment, then was slowly absorbed with a sickening squelch. The thing rippled. And then, to Yulie's horror, it spoke. It didn't have a mouth, but its voice oozed from somewhere deep within its rotting core, a ghastly murmur of countless flavors.
"You left us behind."
Yulie gagged. The thing dragged itself closer, slopping over the floor tiles. She needed backup. She needed a weapon. She needed someone who knew what the hell was happening. Chapter 3. The Lady of Lace and Larders. Madame Celeste Bustier was the head of the Crystal Larder, a woman so imposing she could make a kitchen brigade snap to attention with a single, disapproving tug of her corset laces. She was the tallest, bustiest, and most extravagantly dressed woman in Bergspire, a walking monument to culinary refinement, draped in fur-trimmed silk robes lined with lace that shimmered like freshly fallen snow. And she hated Yulie. Mostly because Yulie had no talent for etiquette, fashion, or basic food preservation. Which is why, when Yulie burst into Madame Bustier's private chambers, wild-eyed, flour-covered, and screaming about sentient leftovers, the grand woman did not look pleased. Celeste turned slowly, setting aside her gold-threaded napkin, lifting a single, finely arched eyebrow. "Yulie, Madame Bustier, we have a problem." Celeste took a slow sip of her imported bustwood tea. "Do we?" "Yes. The leftovers. They're alive. They're coming out of the fridge. They're trying to eat people." A long silence. Then Celeste exhaled, rubbing the bridge of her perfectly sculpted nose. "Yulie, have you been?" She gave her a delicate once-over. "Snacking on the fermented dumplings again?" Yulie threw up her hands. "Madam, for once in your perfectly corseted life, can you just believe me? I am not hallucinating. The food has turned. The mayonnaise is hiding abominations. The quinoa is compromised. And the sriracha. Madam, I don't even know what happened to the sriracha, but it's curdling in ways that should not be possible." Celeste set her tea down with an air of weary exasperation. "If this is another one of your pranks." Something slammed into the hallway door. A wet, sloshing, eldritch thud. Both women froze. The door handle rattled. Then, a low, gurgling moan.
"You left us behind."
Celeste's expression remained unmoved, but her bust rose in a deep inhale, and Yulie saw something shift in her eyes. The head of the Crystal Larder did not believe in foolishness. She did, however, believe in food safety. And this was an absolute violation of culinary protocol. Celeste rose to her feet, her fur-lined robe billowing. She reached for the nearest ornate silver ladle, twirling it between her fingers with deadly precision. "Yulie," she said, her voice calm but steely. "Fetch my best apron." Yulie blinked. "Your what?" Celeste's eyes glowed with righteous fury. "If food dares to rise against us, we shall remind it of its proper place." She tied her corset a notch tighter. On a plate. To be continued. Next chapter. Can Yulie and Madame Bustier take down the fridge horror? What cursed leftovers are lurking deeper in the Crystal Larder? Will Celeste's battle apron have a cleavage window? Signs point to yes.